Internet, good morning. Welcome to a Pokemon Go guide. This one on the Pokemon Walrein, the 3rd gen Walrus Pokemon. This video will teach you guys everything you need to know about Walrein, including a little bit about, you know what, you guys can read the background, how to get him, his stats, his attacks, and his type chart. If you guys could do me the favor of leaving a like if you enjoy this video, that helps my channel out. Checking me out on Twitter and Facebook and all that other great stuff. But let's get into the background. Walrein is, of course, a walrus Pokemon, but you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that. You don't, actually, you know what? You do need to be a regular scientist to know that. I don't want to see any zookeepers trying to get us to Mars. So let's keep the rocket scientists in the rocket science and the other scientists in whatever science field they excel at. Walrein's based off of a walrus, that goofy little blubbery animal. Pokedex number 6, scratch that, 365. First debuted in the Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire games. Height 4'7", weight 332 pounds. Got Walrus. Walrein, look man, it has been the turn of the year. Your New Year's resolution should have been like every other 22-year-old to 35-year-old white person on Facebook and make your New Year's resolution to go to the gym. Get off the treadmill, Chad! You're not gonna be there past February 6th, so I don't want to see your fat ass there on January 3rd, do you hear me? I pay for this shit every month! I get the black card, I get money off my drinks, I go to the hydrotherapy room, you're getting up at 7:30 in the morning before your 9 a.m. class because that girl in 11th grade told you you could lose a few pounds! If you are lucky enough, I suppose, to encounter a Walrein in the wild, perhaps you got him when you were trying to cash your check at the bank, or maybe you're taking your dog for a walk in the morning and you saw him on your nearbys. Either way, fret not! Walrein's not going to run any. 5% chance to run. Now, if you've seen any NFL playoff game, you'll know that a team that has a 5% chance to win in the fourth quarter, if it's quarterbacked by Tom fucking Brady, will probably make that comeback. There is no God, Patriots, and Eagles. Are you kidding me? Oh, I forgot. You guys don't fucking watch sports. This is a Pokemon video. What am I doing? His catch rate is only 12.5%, so you might have to use an Ultra Ball or two if you want to get him, but those candies are worth it if you're going for a Walrein. But speaking of how to get him, let's say you don't actually catch him in the wild. Well, let's talk about that right now. Spheal is a quite common little ball of adorable ice and snow, and that is that Pokemon at the top of the screen. If you can get 25 Spheal candies, which if you open your app at any point during any sort of inclement weather, you are bound to find at least 3 or 4 of these in your immediate vicinity. You get 25 candies, you evolve that into a Sealo, and that mustache, dare I say, is divine. You want to condition that with, you know what, hit me up on Twitter, I'll tell you what to do to condition your mustaches. It's a process that really, if you're over the age of like 35 and wear glasses, you should not do. Just shave it, man. You look creepy, no one's into you, no one wants to approach. If you get 100 more Spheal candies, you will then evolve that Sphealo into the dynamic and enthusiastic, blubbery, afro-having, tusk-wielding Walrein you see on your screen. How is he in battle? I am so glad you definitely asked that question, because even though you're sitting in front of a computer, you still feel like we connect on an emotional level, and much like Blue's Clues when you were a child, if you spoke to the television would respond, Steve! Why didn't you respond, Steve? I'm talking to the third person. I'm talking about Steve. I'm Blue's Clues. Why does this get to his stats? As far as stats go, I would say Walrein is directly in the middle of the pack with a max CP at level 40 and 100%. That is 2,606, which is good for 56th out of the 382 Pokemon that are currently in Pokemon Go. As far as attack goes, it's 182, which puts him at 116th. So well under a lot of more attackers that are even coming out in 3rd gen, and even so, much worse than a lot of the current water types. He does have that ice type background, so if you are looking for a bulky ice type, this or Lapras are really your only options. I suppose ice water, you have Articuno. If you have Articuno, you should probably use that. But as far as ice water goes, this is probably one of your better options. Defensively, 176, that's going to put him 12th out of 382. Now, if that does not show you something about the area the current metagame of defense in Pokemon Go. His defense is lower than his attack, but he's higher ranked in defense. So defense is hard to come by in Pokemon Go. Well, not hard to come by. I would say it's more scarce than anything. And then we have Stamina. 220! That puts him for 14th, not out of 220. That's a typo. 14 out of 382. I am going to leave that typo. I feel like those little inconsistencies are really what give my videos, the personality that you're not going to get from somebody else. Stamina at 220, good for 14th. 14 out of 382. That is where Walrein has his value. Now, Stamina is certainly something that exists for good gym defenders, so let's take a look at all of his attacks, and then we'll figure out exactly where Walrein's use can lie. Or flop, or whatever motion to move walruses do. I don't know, I'm not a scientist. And now we're really getting into the actual visual portion of what Walrein can do attack-wise. So, Walrein has 2 quick attacks, that is Waterfall, a water-type attack, which he gets stab on, and Frost Breath, an ice-type attack, which he also gets stab on. Waterfall does 16 base damage with a 1.2 second cooldown and a 5 defensive damage per second. That way you're not only getting the offensive perspective, but what does this Pokemon do when I put it in a gym? So Waterfall, as it gets stabbed, it's a little slower than Frost Breath, but its DPS is in fact going to be higher because of the damage to cooldown ratio. And then Frost Breath, of course, Frost Breath being 10 damage, 0.9 seconds of cooldown, and only a 3.45 defensive DPS, so both offensively and defensively, you can really see that Waterfall has more damage per pop, per use, per punch, baby. But now we go on to the charge attacks. He has 3 options, those being Blizzard, Earthquake, and Water Pulse. Let us start at the top. Blizzard does 130 damage with a cooldown of 3.1 seconds and has 100 energy usage, so it's the entire bar. And it gets stabbed, so that 130 is turned into a higher number because of the stab, obviously. So now we go to Earthquake, which if you ever use Earthquake on a Walrein, I will find you. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you live. I don't know what you do. But I will find you, I will take your Pokemon Go account, and I will delete it because you're an idiot! You should never use Earthquake ever. First of all, Blizzard does more damage off top. It gets stabbed, giving it more damage. It's got a shorter cooldown than Earthquake. And it uses the same amount of energy, so if you ever have the option between Blizzard and Earthquake, you have to go with Blizzard. Sure, water types may resist it, but you shouldn't really be using a Walrein against a water type anyway. And if you really want to hit those ground or if you want to hit those fire types, just use Water Pulse. Just use Water Pulse. And speaking of Water Pulse, it does 70 damage. The cooldown is 3.2 seconds, but it only has 50 energy, so it takes half of the amount of energy that Blizzard uses, which means you can get there about half as quick. And if you take into account, 70 damage twice for the same bar, that is going to be 140 damage, but you also have taken into account the 2 cooldowns, so that does make Blizzard the premier option for Walrein attacking wise. Let's do a little simple math. If you have 70 damage twice, it's 140. Let's just take stab out of the equation. 140 damage over 100 energy because 2 water pulses. But you have 6.4 seconds of total cooldown to do that 140 damage, and then reset for another attack because it used twice. So that is why you should use Blizzard. So the premier, the moveset that you want to have really is Blizzard. Anything other than Blizzard, I feel like you're sacrificing real effectability for what Walrein can do. And if you have Earthquake, I'm going to find you, take the phone and use the Pokemon Go, and I'm going to launch it into the nearest body of water! Because you should not be playing if that's the case. You should not be watching a guide video and having Earthquake on Walrein. You should not have made it this far if you don't know that Earthquake is not the premier choice for Walrein. It's really not. It's bad. It's a bad one. It's just bad. Last but not least, we will end on the type chart. What is Walrein weak? What is it 2? What does it resist? Other English gaffes like that. 2 resistances. His first resistance is ice. He is quad weak to ice. So if this Pokemon were out, when Articuno were out, it would be good defensively. It does resist water. So, sure, it can resist the water moves of Kyogre, which are currently in the meta right now, but if Kyogre's got Thunder, you're in a bit of a sticky wicket, which I've been informed means kind of a poor situation. That's what my British folk have told me. I hope they're not just making me use this stupid euphemism and then I'm going to laugh at me behind my back, which I suppose is entirely possible. It's not hard to laugh behind someone's back when they are 3,000 miles away or more. I don't know. But his weaknesses, he has 4 single weaknesses. Those are electric, grass, fighting, and rock. I know it's a weird looking symbol, but that is the rock symbol. It's like gray, because a lot of minerals are gray and whatnot. So, no quad weaknesses, which is nice for Walrein to have, but he has a high stamina stat, as we explored before, but he's got 4 weaknesses and does not resist a lot. It's so really only other water ice moves aren't going to be that effective against it, and of course the rest of the stats, the rest of the types you don't see are obviously neutral. You don't have to be a rocket scientist again to figure that out. So in the end, Walrein doesn't really crack any top stats as far as CP goes. He's got just high stamina. His move pool is not very diverse, and he's weak to some now pretty common mons because Kyogre is existing, so people are, stocking up on their electric and grass type. So Walrein overall not going to be that useful in the meta, but he's got a dope afro and he's got really cool tusks. And he is going to have some value, especially when Rayquaza comes out, because Rayquaza is going to be quad weak to ice, and Walrein can sit there and be a fat blob all day. If you guys have any suggestions, comments, anything like that, please leave them in the description. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe for more, follow me on Twitter and Facebook, check out my t-shirts, those are in the description, and I will see each and every one of you guys next time. Good night.